Aiden Ross is done for. People are saying he crossed the line so bad that actual gang members are threatening his life over Doechii. This whole situation has the internet spinning because streamers and rappers are now beefing like it's the 90s East Coast West Coast war all over again. Everybody thought they knew the full story about this Adin Ross and Dochi drama. Just another streamer talking trash about a rising artist, right? That was the version everyone repeated, just internet noise. But now new threats, diss tracks, and West Coast OGs stepping in got the whole narrative twisting. This isn't just online beef anymore. This is real-world consequences. Glasses Malone issued threats. Whack 100 got calls from actual gangsters. Joe Budden wants someone to jump him. And Aiden, he's doubling down, calling the cops and somehow making it worse every single time he opens his mouth. Let me break this down from the beginning, because this story is layered like an onion dipped in drama sauce. 2025 was Dochi's year, no debate. She dropped bangers, won awards, got featured on every major platform, and became the new spotlight in the public eye. But with that spotlight came criticism. People started calling her an industry plant because her rise felt too fast. Then came the Met Gala umbrella incident. You've probably seen the clip. Doechii's at the Met Gala and she's snapping at assistants, demanding umbrellas left and right. Give me another umbrella now, another one, umbrellas, umbrellas. It looked rude, it looked entitled, and the internet did what the internet does best. They tore her apart. Now, was Doechii a little harsh? Maybe. Should she have been more considerate? Sure. But was this worth what came next? Absolutely not. That's when Aiden Ross stepped into the conversation. Someone asked him about Doechii on stream and he went off, and I mean off. He called her an industry plant, talentless, unintelligent, entitled. He said people should stop listening to her music. He told Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion not to work with her. He called her the worst. And this wasn't just a quick comment. This was a full-blown rant, multiple streams, multiple times. Over and over again, Aiden kept coming at Doechii. And here's the thing. Aiden Ross has this habit of appealing to his audience by trashing people. He calls it entertainment. But the problem is his audience is toxic, and he knows it. He's admitted it. So how do you simultaneously pander to a toxic audience while complaining about having a toxic community? It's contradictory, it's hypocritical, and honestly, it's just brain-dead behavior. Throughout 2024 and into 2025, more situations popped up. Streamers kept asking guests about Doechii, people kept piling on, the industry plant accusations kept flying, and Doechii stayed relatively quiet. Until recently. In a new song, Doechii seemingly fired back at the entire streaming community. And while she didn't name names, the blog sites connected the dots. The lyric that got everyone talking, "I see you in the chats," referring to different streams, and you suck every rap man's piece from the back. That line was interpreted as a direct shot at Aiden Ross, who constantly has rappers on his platform and glazes every single one of them, regardless of talent or credibility. Now, did Doechii explicitly say Aiden's name? No. Could it have been about multiple people? Absolutely. But what we do know is this. That diss track put Doechii's name back in the conversation, back on the timeline, and Aiden Ross felt some type of way about it. So much so that he teamed up with Tekashi 6ix9ine and dropped a diss track. Yes, you read that right. Aiden Ross and 6ix9ine made a diss track about Doechii. And let me tell you, I watched a portion of that video and I genuinely felt nauseous. I had to stop, brush my teeth, use mouthwash, floss, throw up again, rinse again, and then come back to finish this video. It was that bad. But here's where Pandora's box opens. The hip-hop community, they were not having it. Doechii has talent. I'm saying this as someone who's been consuming hip-hop, rap, and R&B for years. Doechii makes good music. It's refreshing, it's different, and people in the culture respect her. So when Aiden Ross, a white streamer, kept calling her names and trashing her music, people got defensive, and rightfully so. Glasses Malone was one of the first to step up. He went on stream and issued a direct threat to Aiden Ross. He said if Aiden keeps talking crazy about Doechii, it's gonna get permanent, and he wasn't playing. He made it clear that the streets aren't going to tolerate some streamer disrespecting a black woman in the industry. Then Whack 100 confirmed that he got calls from OGs telling him to check Aiden. Real calls from real people. This wasn't internet talk anymore. This was real-world consequences knocking on Aiden's door. And how did Aiden respond? Did he apologize? Did he back down? Nope, he doubled down. He went on stream and called Glasses Malone fat. He told him to take care of his kids. He said he's not tough. He mocked his appearance, and then, in true Adin Ross fashion, he said, "I'm not white, I'm Jewish, so you're an anti-Semite and a bigot."
Let that sink in. Aiden Ross tried to deflect criticism of his behavior by playing the Jewish card and calling black men who defended a black woman anti-Semitic. That's the level of discourse we're dealing with here. Now let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts clicking into place like a twisted puzzle. Aiden Ross is not some random dude popping off for no reason. There's a pattern here, a history. And when you dig into it, you start seeing why this beef exists in the first place. First off, Aiden's entire brand is built on controversy. He rose to fame by being edgy, by saying wild stuff, by platforming controversial figures. He's had Andrew Tate on, he's had Doechii 69 on multiple times, he's platformed Sneeko. Aiden Ross's whole circle thrives on pushing boundaries and stirring the pot. That's the formula. That's how he keeps his audience engaged. But here's the problem. When your entire brand is built on controversy, you have to keep escalating. You can't just coast. You have to find new targets, new drama, new beef. And Dochi became that target. Why Dochi specifically? Let's break it down. Dochi is a rising black woman in hip-hop. She's eccentric, she's confident, she's unapologetically herself. And in Aiden's audience, that makes her an easy target. His chat is filled with people who already have biases against women, especially black women, especially successful black women who don't fit traditional molds. So when Aiden started trashing Dochi, his audience ate it up. They loved it, and that validation fed into Aiden's ego. But there's more to it. Aiden Ross has a weird relationship with the hip-hop community. On one hand, he desperately wants to be accepted by rappers. He constantly has them on his stream. He pays them. He glazes them. He treats them like gods. But on the other hand, he talks down to black culture. He mocks it. He disrespects it. And when called out, he hides behind his Jewish identity and cries anti-Semitism. That contradiction is what's driving this beef. Aiden wants to be in the culture, but he doesn't respect the culture. He wants the clout, but he doesn't want the accountability. Now let's talk about Dochi's side. Why did she even respond? For the longest time, she stayed quiet. She ignored the noise. She focused on her music. But eventually, enough is enough. When multiple streamers, podcasters, and influencers are trashing you on repeat, you have to say something. You have to stand up for yourself. And that's exactly what Doechii did. She didn't drop a full diss track. She didn't go on a rant. She just included a few bars in a song. Subtle, classy, but effective. And that subtlety is what makes it even more cutting. She didn't need to scream. She didn't need to be loud. She just dropped bars that clearly addressed the situation, and everyone knew who she was talking about. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Once Doechii responded, Aiden couldn't just let it go. His ego wouldn't allow it, so he escalated. He made that terrible diss track with 69. He doubled down on the insults. He called her more names, and that's when the culture decided they'd had enough. Glasses Malone stepping in wasn't random. Glasses has history in the West Coast rap scene. He's connected, he's respected, and when he saw Aiden repeatedly disrespecting a black woman, he felt obligated to step in. Same with Whack 100, same with Joe Budden. These are people who have been in the industry for years. They've seen disrespect before, but there's something about the way Aiden does it that feels especially nasty. It's not just criticism, it's vitriol, it's hate, and it's repetitive. And that repetition is key. If Aiden had made one comment and moved on, maybe this wouldn't have blown up, but he kept going, stream after stream, week after week. He turned Doechii into a punching bag for content, and that's where people drew the line. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about defending Doechii as a celebrity. This is about defending the principle. You don't get to repeatedly disrespect someone, especially a black woman, and hide behind "it's just entertainment" when consequences show up. Aiden Ross built his career on being untouchable online. He thought he could say anything,
to anyone and face zero consequences. But what he didn't account for is that the internet is connected to the real world. And in the real world, words have weight, actions have consequences, and disrespect gets checked. So when Whack 100 says he got calls from OGs, that's not a joke, that's not exaggeration, that's real. When Glasses Malone says it's gonna get permanent, that's not internet bravado, that's a warning. And Aiden's response to brush it off, to call the cops, to mock these men, only proves that he still doesn't get it. He's living in a bubble where his online persona protects him, but bubbles pop, and when they do, reality hits hard. But here's the part that really hits different when you zoom out and look at the human side of this disaster.
Doechii is a real person. Behind the music, the performances, the public persona, she's someone who worked her entire life to get where she is. She grinded, she struggled, she put in the hours. And just when she finally breaks through, just when she finally gets her moment, she's getting trashed by people who don't even know her. Imagine that for a second. You work for years to achieve your dream. You finally make it, and instead of celebration, you get hate. Instead of respect, you get insults. Instead of being judged on your talent, you're called an industry plant, a piece of trash, talentless. And it's not just one person saying it, it's multiple people on repeat for months. That takes a toll. It messes with your mental health. It makes you question if the fight is even worth it. And for Aiden to sit behind a screen in his comfortable streaming room, protected by moderators and distance, and continuously attack someone like that, that's cruel. That's not entertainment, that's bullying. And what makes it worse is that Doechii handled it with so much class. She didn't lash out, she didn't spiral, she didn't start crying on Instagram Live. She stayed focused on her music. She let her work speak. And when she finally did respond, it was subtle, calculated, mature. Meanwhile, Adin Ross is throwing tantrums, making corny diss tracks, and calling the police when real consequences show up. The contrast is night and day. And then there's the broader emotional weight on the Black community, because this isn't just about Doechii, this is about a pattern. Adin Ross has repeatedly targeted Black women. Doechii isn't the first, and if this behavior is allowed to continue, she won't be the last. Black women in the industry already face enough. They're criticized more harshly, they're held to higher standards, they're disrespected more frequently, and when someone like Adin Ross piles on, it reinforces a dangerous narrative. It tells his millions of young, impressionable viewers that it's okay to treat Black women this way. It normalizes disrespect. That's why people are so angry. That's why Glasses Malone stepped in. That's why Whack 100 got calls. Because at some point, the line has to be drawn. At some point, someone has to say enough. And if Adin Ross refuses to listen, if he continues to mock, deflect, and escalate, then he's going to learn a very painful lesson. Not everyone fights with words. Not everyone stays online. Some people show up in real life, and when they do, streaming setups and police escorts won't be enough. This is real. This is serious, and Adin Ross better wake up before it's too late. Now let's dive even deeper into the receipts, because this story has layers that keep peeling back the more you look. After Adin Ross dropped that disaster of a diss track with Tekashi 6ix9ine, the internet went into full investigation mode. People started pulling up old clips, old tweets, old streams, and what they found was a pattern of behavior that's been going on for years. Turns out, Adin Ross has a history of targeting women, especially Black women, and then hiding behind the "it's just jokes" defense when called out. People dug up clips of him calling other female streamers and artists terrible names, calling them dirty, calling them trash, and when confronted, he always plays the victim. He always deflects. In his sit-down with Fuzi, Aiden tried to defend himself by saying, "I don't just call Black women names, I call all women who are dirty, dirty." As if that makes it better, as if being an equal opportunity misogynist is somehow a defense. But here's the thing, the clips don't lie. When you line them all up, there's a clear pattern. The women Aiden targets the most aggressively, the ones he goes after repeatedly, the ones he refuses to let go of, are Black women. Doechii, Wendy, others. The pattern is undeniable. And the way he talks about them is different too. It's not just criticism, it's visceral, it's hateful, it's personal, and that's what people are picking up on. Then there's the Jewish deflection. Multiple times now, when Aiden is called out for disrespecting black people, he pulls the "I'm not white, I'm Jewish" card. He did it with Glasses Malone, he's done it before, and every time it's the same strategy. Flip the script, make himself the victim, accuse the other person of bigotry. But here's the reality. Being Jewish doesn't exempt you from being held accountable for anti-black behavior. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can be Jewish and disrespectful to black people, and using your Jewish identity as a shield when consequences show up is manipulative and dishonest. The internet caught on to this real quick. People started posting side-by-side comparisons of Aiden behavior glazing white rappers versus trashing black women, clips of him laughing with Tekashi 6ix9ine, a known snitch and abuser, while calling Dochi talentless. The hypocrisy is staggering. And speaking of Tekashi 6ix9ine, let's talk about that diss track again, because it deserves another round of roasting. The song was terrible, the lyrics were cringe, the beat was generic, but what made it worse was the visual. Aiden and 6ix9ine in a studio trying to look tough, throwing up hand signs, acting like they're about that life. It's embarrassing. It's cosplay. It's two people who have never faced real consequences trying to act hard for the camera. And the black community saw right through it. Joe Budden called it out. He said he's rooting for Glasses Malone to get the Crips together and teach Aiden a lesson. Now, Joe's always been messy, but his point stands. There's a difference between online tough talk and real-world action, and Adin Ross lives entirely in the online world. But the real smoking gun came when people started analyzing Aiden's responses to the threats. Every time someone stepped to him, his first move was to threaten legal action or call the police. He bragged about having security. He bragged about living in a stand-your-ground state. He said if anyone pulls up, he'll have them arrested immediately. And that tells you everything. Adin Ross is a coward. He talks big online, but the moment real consequences show up, he runs to the cops. He hides behind lawyers. He hides behind security. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with protecting yourself. But you can't act tough online and then cry for help offline. Pick a lane. Meanwhile, Glasses Malone, Whack 100, and others didn't back down. They stood firm. They didn't threaten lawsuits, they didn't call the cops, they just made it clear that if Aiden keeps talking reckless, there will be real-world consequences. And that scared Aiden. You can see it in his body language, you can hear it in his voice. He knows he crossed a line, he knows he's in over his head, but his ego won't let him admit it. So instead, he doubles down. He mocks Glasses Malone's weight, he tells him to take care of his kids, he makes jokes, and every time he does, he digs the hole deeper. At this point, the situation has spiraled so far out of control that even people in Aiden's circle are telling him to chill. Dirty Soda, one of his boys, straight up told him on stream, "Bro, leave females out of it. Dochi don't bother nobody." And Aiden's response? He deflected, he justified, he made excuses. This is a man who cannot take accountability. This is a man who refuses to learn. And that refusal is going to cost him. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually reality catches up. And when it does, all the police escorts and lawyers in the world won't save his reputation. Because at the end of the day, the internet doesn't forget. The culture doesn't forget. And once you're labeled as someone who disrespects black women, someone who hides behind identity politics, someone who's all talk and no action, that label sticks. Adin Ross is learning that lesson the hard way right now. Now, this whole situation gets even crazier when you realize how many people have been pulled into this mess. It started with just Aiden and Dochi, but now you've got Glasses Malone involved, Whack 100, Joe Budden, Dirty Soda, Fusi, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Even fans online are forming camps. Some are defending Aiden, some are defending Dochi, and in the middle of it all, you've got think pieces being written, Twitter threads going viral, and YouTube videos dissecting every single word. Let's talk about Joe Budden for a second. Joe's always been messy, that's his brand. But even Joe saw how nasty the situation got. And for Joe Budden, a man who's had his own share of controversies, to call out Adin Ross, that should tell you something. Joe said he's rooting for Glasses Malone to handle Aiden. And while Joe probably said that half joking, the underlying sentiment is real. People are tired of Aiden getting away with disrespect.
Then there's Whack 100. Whack's been in the industry forever. He's seen beefs come and go, he's seen real street politics play out. And when Whack says he got calls from OGs, you better believe that's real. Whack doesn't play games, he's not clout chasing. He's genuinely trying to prevent something bad from happening. He told Aiden to tone it down, he told him to chill, but Aiden, in classic Aiden fashion, didn't listen. And then there's Glasses Malone. Glasses has been quiet for years. He's not in the headlines every week, he's not starting drama, but when he saw Aiden repeatedly disrespecting Doechii, he felt compelled to speak up. And when Glasses speaks, people listen. He's respected on the West Coast, he's connected, and his threat wasn't empty, it was a warning, a real one. Meanwhile, fans online have turned into full-blown detectives. They're pulling up old clips, they're making timelines, they're analyzing Aiden's behavior patterns, some are even making documentaries. It's wild how invested people are in this. And then you've got the side debates. Is Doechii really an industry plant? Was the umbrella incident that serious? Does Aiden have a point about her behavior? These are the questions people are arguing about in comment sections and group chats all over the internet.
For what it's worth, I'll give my take. Doechii is not an industry plant. Her rise was fast, sure, but that's because she's talented. She makes good music, she has charisma, she has stage presence. Just because someone blows up quickly doesn't mean they're manufactured. Sometimes people are just that good. As for the umbrella incident, yeah, she could have been nicer, but we all have bad days. We all snap sometimes. That doesn't define who you are as a person, and it definitely doesn't justify the level of hate she's received. Now, does Aiden Ross have a point? Absolutely not. Even if Doechii was rude, even if she did act entitled, that doesn't give Aiden the right to call her names repeatedly, to trash her music, to make diss tracks, and to weaponize his platform against her. That's not criticism, that's bullying, and there's a big difference. But the conversation goes even deeper. Some people are asking, why does Aiden Ross feel so comfortable disrespecting black women? And that's a valid question. Is it his upbringing? Is it his audience? Is it the culture of streaming? Probably all of the above. Streaming culture, especially on platforms like Kick, rewards edginess. It rewards controversy. The more outrageous you are, the more clips you generate, the more views you get. And Aiden Ross is a master of that formula. But there's a line, and Aiden crossed it. The other side of this is the racial dynamics. Whether Aiden wants to admit it or not, there's a racial element to this beef. The way he talks about black women versus how he talks about white women is different. The way he glazes white rappers versus how he trashes black female artists is different, and people are noticing. This isn't about cancel culture. This isn't about being woke. This is about basic respect, and Aiden Ross has shown time and time again that he doesn't have it. So where does this leave us? Well, the beef is still ongoing. Aiden's still streaming, Doechii's still making music, Glasses Malone is still watching, Whack 100 is still getting calls, and the internet is still buzzing. At some point, something's got to give. Either Aiden apologizes and changes his behavior, or consequences catch up with him. And based on his track record, I'm betting on the latter. And this story is still unfolding, with way bigger implications than just one beef between a streamer and a rapper. What we're seeing here is a clash between internet culture and real-world culture. Aiden Ross represents a new generation of content creators who believe they can say anything online without facing real consequences. They hide behind screens, they monetize controversy, they build brands on being edgy and offensive. And for the most part, it works, until it doesn't. The bigger conversation is about accountability. When you have a platform with millions of followers, you have responsibility. You can't just say whatever you want and then claim it's just entertainment when people get hurt. Words matter. Influence matters, and when you repeatedly use your platform to attack someone, especially someone from a marginalized group, you're not just entertaining, you're causing harm. Aiden Ross's situation is a wild example, but it's also a warning for anybody with a platform. The more reckless you are online, the more you risk real-world consequences. The internet is not a separate reality, it's connected to real life, and in real life, disrespect gets checked. There's also a broader conversation about race and gender in streaming culture. Why is it so easy for white male streamers to trash black women and face minimal consequences? Why is the default response to criticism always deflection and victimhood? These are questions the industry needs to grapple with. And then there's the audience. Aiden Ross's chat is toxic. He's admitted this, but he also feeds into it. He gives them what they want. He validates their worst instincts, and that creates a cycle.
The audience demands edginess, the streamer delivers. The audience gets worse, the streamer goes further. And before you know it, you've created a monster. At some point, platforms like Kick, Twitch, and YouTube need to take responsibility too. They profit off this content. They know what's happening. But as long as the views are high and the ad revenue is flowing, they turn a blind eye. That needs to change. This beef between Aiden Ross and Doechii is a microcosm of a much larger problem. It's about respect. It's about accountability. It's about the consequences of unchecked influence. And it's about the culture we're creating online.
If we don't address these issues now, they're only going to get worse. More people will get hurt, more lines will be crossed, and eventually someone's going to get seriously injured or worse. This isn't a game, this is real life. And the sooner people like Aiden Ross realize that, the better. So where does this all end? That's the million-dollar question everyone's asking right now. If Aiden Ross continues down this path, if he keeps doubling down, if he refuses to apologize or change, then eventually something bad is going to happen. Maybe it's legal trouble, maybe it's getting jumped, maybe it's losing sponsors and partnerships. Whatever it is, consequences are coming. Some people think Aiden's gonna apologize soon. They think this whole thing is gonna blow over, but I don't buy it. Aiden's ego is too big. His brand is too dependent on controversy. Backing down now would make him look weak to his audience, and Aiden Ross would rather risk real danger than look weak online. Others think the West Coast guys are just bluffing, that Glasses Malone and Whack 100 are just talking tough for the cameras, but I don't think so. These aren't internet trolls, these are real people with real connections, and when they say something's going to happen, you better take it seriously. Then there's the possibility that this whole thing was orchestrated for views, that Aiden and Doechii are secretly working together to generate buzz. But honestly, that feels like a reach. The hate is too real, the threats are too serious. This isn't a publicity stunt, this is genuine beef. What's most likely is that this situation continues to escalate until someone steps in and forces a resolution. Maybe Kick bans Aiden, maybe Aiden's management tells him to chill, maybe law enforcement gets involved. Something's gotta give. In the meantime, Doechii's probably going to keep winning. She's going to keep making music. She's going to keep getting awards. She's going to keep rising. And all of this drama is just going to make her more famous. Meanwhile, Aiden's reputation is getting destroyed. Even people in his own community are turning on him. The irony is, Aiden Ross could have avoided all of this. If he had just ignored Doechii, if he had focused on his own content, if he had shown even a basic level of respect, none of this would have happened. But he didn't. He chose chaos, and now he's dealing with the consequences. One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. More developments are coming, more threats, more diss tracks, more drama, and we're going to be here covering every single twist and turn as it happens. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just beef, this is a cultural moment. This is streamers versus rappers. This is internet culture versus street culture. This is privilege versus accountability, and we're watching it all unfold in real time. Stay locked in, because this story is about to get even crazier. More details are dropping every single day. More clues are surfacing. More people are getting involved. And reports say that Glasses Malone is still watching. Whack 100 is still getting calls. And Aiden Ross is still streaming like nothing's wrong. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Aiden Ross crossed the line? Do you think he owes Doechii an apology? And do you think the West Coast guys are really going to do something, or is this all just talk? Also, let me know, are you Team Aiden or Team Doechii? Because the internet is split right now, and I want to hear where you stand. Make sure you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update, because we're covering every twist that comes out of this insane situation. I appreciate you for rocking with me through this whole deep dive. This was a long one, but it needed to be because this story is layered, it's complicated, and it's still evolving. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and remember, just because you can say something online doesn't mean you should. Words have consequences, respect matters, and the internet never forgets. Peace.